If everybody will take a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. I will now call to order the meeting of the Omaha Planning Board. The Planning Board members that are here today are Jeff Moore, Patrick Morse, Michael Pate, Jorge Sotolongo, Dave Rosacker as Vice Chair, and I'm Greg Rosenbaum, Chairman. Members of the city staff that are in attendance today are Dave Fanslaw, Planning Director, Eric England, Assistant Planning Director, Mike Carter, Current Planning Manager, Robert LaRocco, Planning Board Administrator, Jennifer Taylor of the City Law Department, and Debbie Hightower is our Recording Secretary. Our rules of procedure are as follows. Notice of this hearing has been published. Copies of today's agenda are located on the table in front of us. Down here, you are welcome to come down and pick one up. The cases on the consent agenda will be heard first. Consent cases have been recommended for layover, have already been heard, or are perceived by the Planning Board to be non-controversial, therefore will be read and voted on without the opportunity for your testimony. If you wish to testify, you may remove the case from the consent agenda. When each consent case is read, I will ask if anyone wants the case removed. If you do, please stand up and say so, and the case will be removed. This case will then be heard in the order in which it appears on the regular agenda after we go through the consent cases. When the case is heard, you will have the opportunity to come to the podium, clearly state your name and address, and give your testimony at that time. When hearing cases on the regular agenda, the board will first hear from the applicant. After the applicant states their case, we'll hear from the proponents, and then we will hear from the opponents. After both sides are heard, the public hearing will be closed, and no additional testimony will be permitted unless a board member requests additional information. When at the podium, please clearly state your name, address, and whom you're representing for the record. Your testimony is very important to us. In the interest of time and courtesy to others, please be short and to the point. We will try to limit each case to 10 minutes. Those directly involved in the case, please speak first. We request that large groups select a spokesperson to represent that group, therefore eliminating repetitive testimony. When giving testimony, please provide new information and try not to repeat what has been previously said. We do ask that all speakers and others be treated with courtesy and respect. In that regard, please remain silent while seated, and please turn off your cell phones. Our decision to approve, deny, or continue a case made here today will be forwarded to the City Council for another public hearing and final disposition by the City Council. Conditional use permits are an exception to this rule. The board's decision made here today on conditional use permits are final and not forwarded to the City Council. Lastly, upon the advice of the Law Department, all communications to board members from attorneys or other interested parties should be transmitted through the Planning Department so that they're made a part of the public record. The department will then transmit all that information to the board as well as to the rest of the public. A current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act can be found in a white binder in this room. And before I start with the consent cases, we do have two changes. Agenda item number 9 will be removed from the consent, and agenda item number 11 will be added to the layover consent agenda. I'll go ahead and get started with our consent cases. Agenda item number 3, case C3-22-144, applicant Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. It is on for layover. Request approval of amendment to Chapter 55 regarding floodplain regulations and exemptions of maximum permitted sound. This was laid over from our May meeting. Location, City of Omaha and the 3-mile extraterritorial jurisdiction. Does anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 8, case C3-22-158. Applicant, Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. It is on for layover. Request approval of the disposition of city-owned property to an interested party. Location, 2230, 2216, 2212, 2210, 2208, and 2204 Ohio Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 10, case C3-22-160, applicant, Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. It is on for layover. Request approval of the disposition of city-owned property to an interested party. Location, 2238 Ohio Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Seeing none. Agenda item number 11, case C10-21-325, C12-21-326, applicant, Woodsonia 216 Fort LLC. It is on for layover. Request revised preliminary plat and final plat approval of the Haven, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to DR and R4. Portions of the property are located within the flood fringe and floodway overlay districts. Location, southwest of 216th and 4th. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 12, case C12-22-162. Applicant, 78 Investment Group, LLC. It is on for approval. Request preliminary plat and final plat approval of the Rose at Coventry Replat 1, a cluster subdivision outside city limits. Location, southwest of 207th and Q Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 13, case, excuse me, C12-22-163. Applicant, LFS AK LLC. It is on for approval. Request preliminary plat and final plat approval of Exarban Center Replat 5, a minor plat inside city limits. Location, northwest of 70th and Pine. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 14, case C10-22-153. Applicant, Martha Rucker. It is on for approval. Request rezoning from GI to R5. Location, 1824 Sailor Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Seeing none. Agenda item number 15, case C10-21-3, C10-22-167. Applicant, KJ Crossroads Venture LLC. It is on for approval. Request rezoning from GC and MU to GC and MU with approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Crossroads, along with expansion of the ACI 2 area of civic importance overlay district for a portion of the site. Location, southwest of 72nd and Cass Streets. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 16, case C10-6-166. Applicant, Cross Engineering and Associates, Inc. It is on for approval. Request approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Candlewood Hills. Location, 708 North 124th Plaza. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 17, case C10-22-169, C8-22-166. Applicant, Lanahaw Nurseries, Inc., care of Dave Lanahaw. It is on for layover. Request rezoning from AG to DR with approval of a special use permit to allow agricultural sales and service in the DR district. Portions of the property are located within the flood fringe overlay district. Location, northeast of 258th Plaza and West Center Road. Anyone wish to have this removed? Seeing none. Agenda item number 18, case C10-22-152. Applicant, Kids Can Community Center. It is on for approval. Request approval of the major commercial corridor overlay district. Location, 4768 Q Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 19, case C11-11-100. Applicant, Eagles Nest Worship Center. It is on for approval. Request approval of a major amendment to the Plan Unit Development Overlay District. Location northeast of 99th Street and Military Road. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 20, case C11-20-220, applicant 78 Investment Group LLC. It is on for approval. Request approval of a major amendment to the Plan Unit Development Overlay District. Location southwest of 207th and Q Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 21, case C10-22-165, applicant David Olson, D&J Olson LLC. It is on for approval. Request approval of the Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Location 11902 West Center Road. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 22, case C8-22-151, C7-22-168, applicant Nebraska Neurobehavioral Services. It is on for layover. Request approval of a special use permit to allow small group living, non-disabled, and within 600 feet of another group living facility, along with approval of a conditional use permit to allow emergency residential care in the R5 district. Location 3013 and 3015 North 95th Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 23, case C7-22-154, applicant New Singular Wireless PCS LLC. It is on for approval. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow a broadcast tower in the GI district. Location 8415 North 29th Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Seeing none. Agenda item number 24, case C7-19-33, applicant George Robinson. It is on for approval. Request approval of a major amendment to the conditional use permit to allow a social club in the R7 district. Location 3713 North 24th Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 25, case C7-22-155, applicant Darrell Lizey. It is on for approval. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow warehousing and distribution limited in the CC district. Property is located within an ACI area of civic importance overlay district. Location 11548 West Dodge Road. Anyone wish to have this removed? You do, sir? Okay, that will be removed. Item number 25, let me mark that on. Okay. Agenda item number 26, case C7-98-216, applicant Lisa Scoville. It is on for approval. Request approval of a major amendment to the conditional use permit to allow secondary education facilities in the R2 district. Location 8715 Pacific Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Okay, seeing none. Agenda item number 27, case C7-22-161, applicant Beautiful Life Adult Care LLC. It is on for approval. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow a daycare general in the GI district. Location 4205 South 96th Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? Seeing none. Agenda item number 28, case C7-22-164, applicant Catherine Jensen. It is on for approval. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow a kennel in the DR district. Property is located within ED Environmental Resource Overlay District. Location 6512 and 6524 Garvin Street. Anyone wish to have this removed? You do, sir? Okay. That will be removed. Okay, so do we have a motion for the items on consent that are on for approval.
Move to approve agenda items number 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 26, and 27.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Debbie, will you please record the vote?
Rosacker,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
approves 6-0.
Okay, do we have a motion for consent items on for layover?
Motion to lay over cases numbers 3, 8, 10, 17, and 22, and 11.
And 11, okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, will you please record the vote?
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
approves 6-0.
Okay, if you were here for one of the items that were on consent, no further action will be taken today. You are welcome to stay or you are free to leave. It's up to you. We'll get started with our agenda. The first two items are administrative meeting only. There will be no opportunity for public testimony. Agenda item number 1, case C10-21-103, C12-21-104, applicant M180 LLC, request final plat approval of Maple 180, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to DR and MU. This was laid over from our April meeting. Location, northeast of 180th Street and West Maple Road. Eric.
Yeah, so this final plat received preliminary plat approval by City Council in June of 2021. That included a waiver of the green corner. As the chair had mentioned, the final plat was laid over at the planning board meeting in April. This has been resubmitted. It's largely consistent with the approved preliminary plat. There have been multiple items that have been addressed since the April layover. The site consists of entirely mixed-use zoning, so office and commercial lots. There's still a few items of mixed use that will have to be addressed in the development agreement before proceeding to City Council, but staff recommends approval of the rezoning from AG to DR and MU, subject to submittal of an acceptable mixed-use development agreement, and approval of the final plat subject to the 2 conditions in the report prior to forwarding to City Council.
Okay, any comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the rezoning from AG to DR and MU, subject to submittal of an acceptable mixed-use development agreement and approval of the final plat, subject to the 2 conditions outlined in the report prior to forwarding to City Council.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Morris,
Yes.
Yes.
Go. Moore,
Right. Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
approves 6-0.
Agenda item number 2, case C10-22-8, C10-22-29, C12-22-10, applicant Commercial Investment Properties. Attention, Randy Chevalier. Request final plat approval of CIP Saddle Creek, a subdivision inside city limits with rezoning from R4 and GI to R7 and CC, along with approval of the Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District for a portion of the property. Location, northwest of Saddle Creek Road and Pacific Street. Eric?
Yeah, so this final plat follows the approved preliminary plat from the planning board back in January, and then City Council approved the preliminary plat on March 15th. The plat layout is consistent with the previously approved preliminary plat. There's 3 lots within 4.5 acres. One lot has the multifamily unit complex of 195 units, and then there are 2 commercial and office pad sites fronting Saddle Creek Road. The plat will need to add an access easement before proceeding to City Council. I do just want to mention that there have been preliminary FEMA flood maps that have been released for the City of Omaha in our jurisdiction. There is a small impact to this site. So the applicant will be required to work with us on what those impacts may be. They'll be required to receive a floodplain development permit and a no-rise certificate where there is a floodway. There is a small portion of floodway that is proposed on the very eastern edge of the office commercial lots fronting Saddle Creek. So Once again, the applicant will have to coordinate with us, and those maps are preliminary and won't be finalized until next year. But we use the best and most accurate available data, so staff will continue to coordinate with the applicant on that. Staff recommends approval, subject to submission of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding to City Council.
Comments or questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
Recommend approval subject to submission of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to City Council.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, will you please record the vote?
Pate,
Yes.
Sodolongo,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Agenda item number 4, case C3-22-121, applicant Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha, request approval of the industrial on Fort Tif redevelopment project plan. This was laid over from our May meeting, location 1215 Fort Street. And Don, you're up.
Yes, good afternoon, Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning Department. The industrial on Fort TIF project is North Omaha, kind of up near the airport. It's at the corner of 13th Street and 4th Street. It's a single parcel, about 4.1 acres in size. The proposal calls for a new industrial building.
Don, hold on just a second. Matt, can we get his volume up or?
Don, pull the mic towards you more. There you go. That might help.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit.
Do I talk louder? Yeah. Okay. Okay,
I'm sorry,
industrial
Don.
on.
Go ahead. I'm
Industrial on Fort TIF project, 1215 Fort Street. Project's on a single vacant site up near the airport, about 4 acres in size. Proposal is for a new industrial building, about 66,000 square feet. Designed to have about 14 leasable bays. This is kind of a flex space type of industrial building, designed mainly for small businesses that need storage or industrial space, things such as a lawn care business, for example. The access for the site will be off Fort Street. The developer is JEH Enterprises LLC, managed by Josh Hannum. Total project investment is about $6.3 million. They're requesting $1,134,734 in TIF assistance. This is in an extremely blighted area. They have asked for a 20-year TIF term. That is included in the approval that we're asking you for today. I would note that the 1.1 million TIF request will pay off early, but we're still looking at a 20-year term. The city would like to collect the remaining TIF during that 20-year term and apply it towards 13th Street and other public improvements in the vicinity. And that's the way it was approved by the TIF committee. I had a couple questions from the board regarding the TIF application. We actually had the TIF application online on our Acela program, and we had a kind of a PDF old school version emailed to us. Never thought I'd refer to a PDF as an old school version, but anyway. The online application, which you have in your packets, there's a couple things still need to be corrected in there, and we're working on that. One of those is the ROI, the return on investment. The numbers that were shown on the Acela version in your packets were completely off. Actually, if you just delete the first couple digits from what you're looking at in your packets, you get down to the 6.01 return on investment with TIF and the 2.4 without. Another question that came up were the other categories under TIF eligible costs. And again, we're working with our Acela program to hopefully resolve some of those rather general categories. The 4 other items that are in your packet include $10,000 for site preparation, storm drainage for $15,000, concrete reinforcement, that's engineered foundations. That is TIF eligible for $142,000, listed as others in your packet. They need to provide us with a geotech report to show that engineered foundations are necessary for the project, and they have provided that report to us. And last other item, $92,000 for contingency on construction costs that are only for TIF eligible construction items. Hopefully that clears some of that up. Here's the site plan. Again, the access is off Fort Street, no access off of 13th Street. Project meets the required criteria of our TIF program. It's an appropriate land use for the location, complies with our city's master plan, and we ask for your approval.
Don, just to clarify on the contingency costs there for TIF,
Yeah.
obviously that's a kind of an open-ended item, but
It
can you
can
just
be.
clarify for us how that's monitored to make sure that those costs are actually going to be spent on TIF eligible?
We tell our applicants in all cases when they're applying for these things that they are subject to an audit at the end of the project, and we need to see that the TIF eligible items that they indicated and the use of the TIF money is used for TIF eligible expenses. Now, they have more TIF eligible costs in their budget than the TIF support they're requesting, so there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but yeah, they have the potential to be audited and they're aware of that, so
Okay.
they need to use it for TIF eligible items. If they don't use all of the contingency, they may need to look at additional public improvements.
Thank you.
Any other proponents?
Chairman, members of the board, Jessica Thomas, 10250 Regency Circle. Here today on behalf of the applicant. Thanks, Don, for the introduction of this project. We're really excited about this project. As Don mentioned, it's located around 13th and Fort Street in North Omaha area, right near the airport district. As you can see in the image presented, there's a reference to A United automatic doors. The intent there is the developer is an owner of the A United, and they will be relocating their headquarters to this site. The remaining units, as Don mentioned, are between 14 and 15 available bays. Those bays are intended to be flex units. So if someone came in and said, we want 2 bays, so 10,000 square feet, that site is really flexible to allow the intended users to be able to use the site. So the intended users really for this site are, industrial, mechanics, commercial, those people that are really needing in this market sites to relocate and start businesses. So as you can see in the application, we noted a number of new employment opportunities, and that's really because the intent here is to bring new people to the site that otherwise probably wouldn't have a location to start up a business. So as Don mentioned, the project is anticipated to cost approximately $6.3 million. Like many of these projects, though, at this point in time, we're at the early stages, and more likely than not, those costs are going to go up and eat into any of these contingencies that are talked about. So with that, if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing. Additional comments, questions? Eric, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just, there's a need for this type of industrial flex space, so I think that will fill up a needed gap in this area. So staff recommends approval.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
So Longo,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Agenda item number 5, case C10-1-240, Ayers and Ayers, Inc. is the applicant. Request approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Pine Creek. This was laid over from our May meeting. Location, southwest of 156th and State Street. Is the applicant here? Okay.
Monty Taylor, 7021 L Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I know project was laid over last month due to the signage issue. We got, I believe the land area, how much square footage of the building was approved, and now we're working with the city on the materials. And the last thing we had issues were the amount of square footage of the signage. Before, we're showing if this was a regular, the allowable was 800 square feet. If this was a standard development outside of this, but the MU district rezoned it down to 500. We requested 800. I looked at how we could, each of the centers, we would have street side here, and then the parking lot side. On the brick side, or on the street side, I was looking at roughly like 3 foot by 18 foot would be enough signage for there. Then on the parking lot side, once you got the person into the development, a 2 foot by 12 foot sign probably should suffice on there. Again, not knowing exactly what type of lettering, this is an example of a Zone CC center. Okay.
There it is.
Out of 200th and Maple, this is Zone CC. This is development there. They have all different types of signage. The Nebraska signage here is, more of a block lettering. Down here at the end, there is a T-Mobile, which was more of a full square instead of just the can letters. So, my square footage came up, when I calculated the for the use of the two buildings was close to right at 800 square feet. I think the city calculated it with, if you used all can letters, they were closer to 600 square feet. So I'm just, depends on what client. We don't have any specific clients. We don't know what the corporate standard signage. I have different examples of different signage standards. Each corporation has some different signage standards that they use. So, we're just asking for this development to be viable, to be able to bring people in. We're just asking for, what would be allowed on a standard CC district. Any questions from me?
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric.
Yeah, so obviously, with the major amendment on last month, we talked about this in quite a bit of detail, and having received additional information, we staff did a thorough review of what the potential signage and along with what the applicant submitted. We believe there's enough flexibility in the requirements for certain signage requirements that require channel letters that does not factor in the space in between the letters when you are, on the backside, basically fronting those arterial streets. So a lot of times those signages can be pretty sizable, and you're able to reduce that amount of signage based on that channel letter requirement. And then, we're accounting for signs on both sides of the buildings, and we are factoring in some additional signage on both end caps of both buildings. So we believe the increase to 606 square feet is sufficient. I will point out the existing mixed-use development agreement does have an allowance that sign budget can be reallocated between other lots. I know we talked about it last month, but there was some redesignation, and this lot, some of the signage was taken for other lots, so there could be excess signage that exists for those lots. We're comfortable with the 606 square feet for the development that's proposed for this lot, and if there is an additional need, there still is that allowance that they could work with another property owner in the mixed-use development agreement. So If you have any questions, please ask, but I will read our recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the major amendment to the Pine Creek Mixed-Use Development Agreement, subject to submittal of 5 acceptable signed copies of the amendment prior to forwarding to City Council.
Any additional comments, questions?
Just a question for Eric here. So the applicant gave some examples, showed some examples of some existing properties that had different types of signage on. Did those properties, are you aware of those properties? I assume you are, and if so, did they meet the requirements, sign requirements as far as square footage?
I'm sorry, there is a lot of signage. It is not my area of expertise, nor do I review individual sign permits. We have one building inspector that is basically his full job, full-time, so there's a lot of details that I can't personally speak to. But based on the type of signage, whether a logo is factored into the sign, counts as signage, sometimes it's excluded if it's not part of the logo. So I can't specifically, address the example that was portrayed here by the applicant.
But there is a certain amount of flexibility that they still have with regards to the signages on each one of those bays.
Absolutely,
Is
I
that
feel
correct?
so, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the major amendment to the Pine Creek Mixed-Use Development Agreement, subject to submittal of 5 acceptable signed copies of the amendment prior to forwarding the request to the council.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Prosacker,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Agenda item number 6, case C3-22-156. Applicant, Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha, request approval of the Keyline Building TIF redevelopment project plan. Location 319 South 17th Street. Don, you're up again.
Good afternoon, Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning. This project is the Keyline Building Rehab, located on the northeast corner of 17th and Harney, just about a block east from where we're sitting now. The building is going to be completely rehabbed. This building here, street view. Building is about 61,000 square feet. It's getting a new roof. The HVAC system will be replaced. There'll be extensive exterior brick repair and some storefront improvements. One of the biggest tenants currently is the Douglas County Juvenile Justice System. Their offices are in the process of moving out. The building will continue to be an office building on the upper levels, and will continue to have street-level retail space. Public improvements include reconfiguring the parking from parallel to diagonal spaces, the on-street parking, some sidewalks and some streetscaping, although with vaults under the sidewalks, there's some limitations on how much public improvements they can do. Developer Shamrock Development, Inc., managed by Mike Moylan. Total project investment is about $6.88 million. They requested $1.4 million in TIF support. The TIF committee approved up to a maximum of $1,533,000 in TIF support. This is a 20-year TIF term. It's located in an extremely blighted area. The reason the TIF committee approved a larger amount than is requested is that some of the excess will be used for the streetcar. So when the project moves on to the TIF agreement, that'll be negotiated, and we'll memorialize in the TIF agreement how much goes to the project and how much goes to the streetcar. Project meets the required criteria for the TIF program. It's an appropriate land use for the area, complies with the goals of the city's master plan. We ask for your approval.
Okay. Any questions for Don?
So, Don, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here on this again. I should have caught this maybe in the pre-meeting, but this also has the other items in the TIF eligible costs here of other, totaling over $800,000. But they're only, I think, applying for, how much are they applying for in TIF?
The TIF was $1,400,000.
Yeah.
They had a really large amount of TIF eligible expenses because the construction costs on an existing building are TIF eligible. When you're rehabbing a building, the construction costs are the hard costs. New construction, that's not the case. I believe I'm going to defer to the applicants. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I believe we eliminated that item from the final list.
Yeah, because the total eligible cost, TIF eligible costs shown on the TIF application are $6.5 million.
Yeah, and they only need 1.4 million.
Right, right. So I'm just, when I see other on there, I'm always just kind of curious, because that's a pretty broad, could be anything, right?
Yeah.
But since they're only applying for 1.4
It's one of the first
million
things I follow up on when we get the Acela application, and we see other as well.
Maybe
off
for
the top of my
future
head, I
reference
don't
on these
recall what that
applications,
is, but
maybe
I'm
for
sorry.
future reference on these applications, when you get these, if you can make sure that the report is pretty accurate with
We shall
regards to
do that.
specific detail on it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Any other proponents?
Mr. Chair, board members, Bob Griffith, 11440 West Center Road, here on behalf of the applicant, Shamrock Development. Just to quickly address your question as far as TIF eligible, the item we have here, and it might not be updated through Acela with what you guys, so I apologize, we can follow through on that, is 5.1 in total TIF eligible. And 2.1 of that is building rehab, which incorporates a long list of items, which we have those breakouts as well. But that is the final number that we have, is the 5.1.
Okay.
So that might address some of the other that got taken out at some point.
That's a large part of it.
So,
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks again to Don and the planning staff for presenting the project. Do a great job as always. I would only add that, as you referenced, the public improvements, they're a little over $100,000. They include some light updates along 17th, as well as maybe a curb cutout and some improvements to the right-of-way. The developer is very excited about the project, particularly the potential to maintain the office use aspect in an area that is central to downtown and potentially along the streetcar line. Maybe to head off any other concerns, the developer is also intending to keep the first floor tenants, Bob's and Oasis. So I know those are some popular spots, so those are intended to remain. So with that, if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing. Eric,
Staff recommends approval.
any additional comments, questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Moore,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Agenda item number 7, case C19-22-157. Applicant Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha request approval of the 2022 annexation package. Number 1, OPPD Elkhorn Service Center, 1101 North 180th Street. Number 2, Pacific Renaissance and adjacent areas, northwest of 192nd and Pacific Street. And number 3, Methodist Women's Hospital and adjacent parcel, northeast of 192nd and West Dodge Road. Troy, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. Troy Anderson, Deputy Chief Staff, City of Omaha Mayor's Office, 1819 Farnham Street. Here we are again, standing before you with the annual annexation package. I'll spend a little bit of time running through how we've arrived at where we are today for the benefit of those folks here in the audience and perhaps online. The city's goals every year are to eliminate islands, expanding the city's corporate limits to maintain continuity and consistency in corporate boundaries and providing essential city services. The package must be revenue positive for the city and does not compromise public safety. Every year we go through a very systematic, very analytical evaluation. Every year we begin with a comprehensive list of SIDs. This year that number was 138 SIDs. We then eliminate SIDs that are not either adjacent or adjacent plus one is what we call it. In other words, these SIDs have to be adjacent to city's corporate limits either directly or through an area or another SID that may be able to be annexed. So that's why we always kind of frame that around adjacent or adjacent plus one. And then not including SIDs with sales, restaurant, and/or hotel tax, which obviously generates revenue that we then take into consideration as part of the package. So those SIDs that don't include sales, restaurant, or hotel tax, we then eliminate SIDs that have at least two of the following. Levy greater than 60, net debt greater than 3 million, or a debt ratio greater than 4%. Generally, we've kind of zeroed in on these benchmarks as knowing and understanding that we probably won't get to a net positive annexation package looking at SIDs that have excessive debt ratio, et cetera. So this year, through this process, we've reduced the list down to 7 SIDs, call this the short list, for a full service evaluation. As a result of the full service evaluation, unfortunately, there were 0 SIDs that were being considered for annexation. One thing we do look at annually, though, is not just SIDs, right? There are a number of adjacent properties that are not part of an SID that are adjacent to city's corporate limits and are subsequently eligible for annexation. So the 3 areas that we looked at and that we're recommending for you today total approximately 196 acres of land, combination of residential, commercial, healthcare, and utility. They are Methodist Women's Hospital, located north and east of 192nd and West Dodge Road, the Pacific Renaissance Edition, also known as Ravello 192 townhomes, and the adjacent lands located north and west of 192nd Pacific Street. And last but not least, the OPPD Elkhorn Service Center located 180th and Old Lincoln Highway. The package brings in approximately 180 new residents. This is based on the 2020 census data, increasing Omaha's population and maintaining Omaha as a top 40 city in the nation. The city will see an increase in approximately $18 million in new valuation. The package has a debt ratio of 0% and is revenue positive. I won't go through the 10-year financial projections. Those are included in the agenda packet. Public safety will not be compromised. These areas have low 911 call volumes. There is no parkland included in the annexation package, and there are no trails for the city to ultimately maintain as we contemplate year to year. There are 0 lane miles, meaning public streets that would be added to the city's road network, again, impacting on long-term operation and maintenance costs for maintenance of those roads. All areas, if not already served, will immediately receive all essential city services, including police, fire, solid waste, street maintenance, and snow removal. That concludes staff's report, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Troy. Any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing. Additional comments, questions from the board? Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Dave. Before I go, like Troy said, here we are this time of year again, and here I am this time of year again. I'll spare everybody my speech on substandard streets, since this doesn't have that many lane miles or 0 lane miles in this, but I do not support any annexation because of my, I guess what's the word, dissatisfaction with the policy on substandard streets. So I just wanted to get that out. I will not be voting for it. Eric.
Yeah, so Troy gave a very thorough review of the process, obviously led by the mayor's office and several city departments. Staff recommends approval of the annexation package.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
No.
Okay, approved, 5-1.
Okay, agenda item number 9, case C3-22-159. Applicant Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha request approval of the disposition of city-owned property to an interested party. Location 2506 and 2510 North 24th Street. Eric, did you want to start with this, or we're going to start with?
Yeah,
David?
no, I'll give a brief intro
Okay.
since the city is officially the applicant. So yeah, this is a disposal of city property, basically a sale of a city property, for 2 parcels that total .17 acres. The addresses being 2506 and 2510 North 24th Street. This is the site of the former Love's Jazz site. We are proposing to sell this property to Dana Murray. Dana will go through his proposal, but basically it's the intention to be renovated for a music education and performance facility. 24th and Lake Street is, this area is part of a National Register Historic District, so we will, if the sale is finalized through Planning Board and ultimately City Council, we will encourage the applicant to coordinate with city staff on any future improvements or additions, so that we can try to make sure that they fit in with the Secretary of Interior standards that would be so good for such a National Register district. This disposal process follows Nebraska Community Development Law. 24th Street is designated as an ACI corridor, so the city will follow up with the rezoning to apply that overlay district here before the disposal is finalized. We went over, city staff went over a lot of the history and the process. I'll leave it at that for now. We can circle back and I can touch on any of those items, but how about we have proponents and opponents speak, and if need be, I can speak further on that history.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I want to ask for a proponent. Well, you are obviously a proponent, so go ahead, Dana.
I am indeed.
Yep.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing? My name is Dana Murray, Executive Director of NOMA, North Omaha Music and Arts, 2510 North 24th Street. A little bit of correction. They're not selling the building to me. It's to my organization. So, yeah, what can I say? A little over a year and a half ago, I was presented the opportunity to executive direct the former Love's Jazz. Didn't have much interest in that. I did have an interest in developing a music and art academy. I grew up in South Omaha, and I know what it's like to grow up in an underserved community where there aren't a lot of outlets for art. There aren't a lot of outlets to that engage a young person's mind, teach them how to be creative, critical thinking, committed, dedicated. We had sports, not a lot of arts. So my commitment was sort of driven by, I know what I would have wanted, and I know what all the kids that grow up playing an instrument, I know what comprehensive music and art education can do for them. So we have, I'm very proud of what we have developed for North 24th Street. It will be a 28,000 square foot facility. Obviously, we'll have all of the requisite music education facilities, from music lessons to group classes to dance to creative writing to music production. All of those things will be there, but we'll also have a 450-seat music venue. It's important to me to create something that's going to have some economic impact. There's so much rich history with music in the North Omaha community. It's absolutely essential that we create destinations for all of the redevelopment that's happening. We absolutely need destinations, and that is going to provide that, along with the largest recording studio in the city that will obviously suit our programming needs, but will also be another source of income. So I'm looking for this not only to be a beacon for the future for redevelopment just for North Omaha, but for really the entire city. So yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Hey, Dana, upstairs we talked a lot about what you just mentioned and money and everything, but I forgot to ask you, you've got the indoor 450-seat venue. Do you have any exterior, any outdoor venue with this? Or
Well,
Not that it's that important, but I was just wondering.
Well, no, that actually is important. With that footprint, there isn't a whole lot. I mean, my next mission is going to be parking, so wow, I have you all here. No, is going to be parking. I do have, I guess, larger agendas, like, creating a true entertainment area. This is just the start. So yeah, I want places where we can have outdoor venues, outdoor music festivals, places that are designed specifically for that. And there's a lot of space down there to do that. So this is taking up all my time right now as far as development and vision, but there are a lot of things that we want to do that are going to impact that community. So.
Okay.
And you're going to have, this is a nonprofit organization that owns.
It is. The organization is called Now Initiative, DBA, North Omaha Music and Arts. So yeah, we are a 501c3.
Okay. So once this is up and running, you're going to obviously have some operational expenses as well. So are you going to charge? I assume you're going to charge for some of the programs and events and things that you're going to have here, right? Because you can't absorb all the operations.
Concerts. Yeah, there'll be a charge for those. Anything to do with entertainment. As far as the cost of the academy, I'm going to do everything in my power. Well, I'll put it to you like this. There will be no economic barrier for the youth of that community. Much in the same way, Boys and Girls Club doesn't have any real economic barriers, or Girls Inc. A lot of the infrastructure is built the same way. So that it's going to be available for anyone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Any other proponents wishing to speak?
Hi, my name is David Hawkins. I would like to speak in proponent of the acquisition for 2510 North 24th Street, as well as 2506. My address, I live 2703 North 62nd Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I'd like to speak to a couple of things. First, just the transformative nature of the infrastructure that will be NOMA. I was afforded the really blessing to meet and be under the mentorship of Dana Murray as early as high school at Omaha Burke. A lot of people may not know this, but Burke High School was the best percussion program in the state and was on par with the best in the country. And with that, a lot of work ethic and critical thinking skills, and just the ability to take one's passion and apply hard work and detail-oriented skills to that, carried over into many aspects of my life. I was able to be a part of that, and also Doja Percussion, which was a nonprofit drum ensemble that competed on a world level. So through all those experiences as like a 15, 16-year-old kid, that was extremely beneficial to me, not only being able to apply that, into becoming a man, but also realizing that I could be a professional musician. So all of these things have happened sequentially in my life, and I've begun to pursue that and devote my life to developing. But the how's the best way to say this? The pattern that I've noticed in my life is that it's always been outreach. None of those things were ever actually in reach for me. I grew up in North Omaha. Burke is 100 blocks away from 24th Street. So in order for me to gain that, I had to get access to those resources. My parents were lucky enough to be able to do that for me, but a lot of my friends and family are not and don't have that opportunity. And I can personally attest to how big of an impact having something like that where you are gives to a young African American today that wants to do anything, not just music, not just arts. But for me, and for the historical context of this city, I think it's really important that we do everything we can to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents?
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Sanders, 4115 North 22nd Street, a longtime resident of North Omaha, but also the publisher of the Omaha Star newspaper, a paper that has been in this community for 84 years, located on North 24th Street since 1942 by its founder, Mildred D. Brown. Being a resident of North Omaha and living in close proximity to where this facility will be, as well as working in the area, I see the benefit to the whole district for this kind of enterprise, as well as educational institution in our community. It will give students opportunities. It will give residents places to go and things to do that are positive. And it also carries on the legacy of the music that occurred in North Omaha. So I highly suggest you approve this.
Thank you, Terry. Any other proponents?
Good afternoon. My name is Mitch Town, 15509 Lloyd Street, Omaha. I'm a professional musician, and I've known Dana for 30 years. And there are two things relevant to today's meeting that I can tell you about him. One is that he's always had a huge vision for what is possible, and two, he's not a talker, he's a doer. We met as teenagers and learned to play music together. His hunger and drive at that age inspired me to be better, and we practiced and hustled our own gigs, even playing on the street corner down in the old market. And even then, Dana had a vision to be bigger, and at that time, his vision was for his own career. And in the 90s, he left Omaha and went to Berklee School of Music and eventually moved to New York City, where he quickly established himself not only in jazz, but in rock, pop, and R&B. He toured the world, and by all measures, he made it in music. At some point in his life, he decided that he wanted to move back to Omaha, to this community, in order to raise his son. And from the minute that he returned to Omaha, he was talking to me about building something bigger here. He had a vision about changing the culture and wanted to bring what he had learned and experienced while traveling the world back to Omaha, his own home community. He's always had a passion for teaching, and after returning here, he began teaching at schools, at students like David, and he also gave private lessons. I consider Dana to be the other oracle of Omaha because of all the students who have studied with him, who have gone on to have careers touring the world, playing on Broadway, all because they started taking lessons from Dana. As David mentioned, he started an indoor drumline called Dojo. Within a couple years of its foundation, that he started from scratch, won the world championship in its division. Again, he's not a talker, he's a doer. When he first told me about NOMA, I was blown away and inspired by the breadth of his vision for the Academy. It's really what Dana's dreamed about for decades, establishing a beachhead here in Omaha for the likes of which Omaha hasn't seen for the arts. There's literally no one more qualified and equipped to lead an organization like that. I personally think NOMA has the potential to change the culture not only of North Omaha, but of the city itself. I'm very excited to see what happens with NOMA. I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm extremely proud of my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitch. You bet. We're still on proponents.
Proponent, yes.
Yep.
My name is Vicki Reed. My address is 2701 Tulip Lane, Bellevue, Nebraska. And I am standing before you obviously as a proponent, but also as a mother of young African American males. I am the Nebraska president of MOB, Mothers of Black Boys United, and I would like for you to all understand, and I'm sure that you're aware of the difficulties in raising our young black men and girls, but I specifically focus on our young black men, and I learned a lot by giving Dana the authority and the opportunity to manage my son. He and David sit together. These are children that pretty much lived in my basement based on Dana's requirements for commitment. They might call it practice, but as a parent, it was commitment. And watching my son and his friends finish high school, graduate college, and actually have other goals in their lifetime in comparison to many of their peers. When I'm at home and thinking and praying that my son will please post something on Instagram or something so that I still know that he's alive, when I get that little message, I know that there's still some piece in him that he learned being part of dojo. And again, I don't want you to think it was just the drum line. It was the commitment that they were taught while they were part of this program for most of their high school careers. They gave up a lot to learn and establish that commitment. I really feel like having this facility available in North Omaha is going to be instrumental in changing the whole game for the lives of our young black boys. Many people know that we live in music. Our boys actually learn in music, and the schools don't understand that pattern of thinking. But I think this is going to be an opportunity where we open up a door to get them in and get them committed into doing something else, and somewhere that they can also lay out those ideas and thoughts they have when it comes to their music, that it's not just in my bedroom, in my basement, with just my friends, but there is actually a professional business to that. My son is a sound engineer. I tried my best to get him to fly the helicopters. He flew for about a year, spent lots of my money, and decided no matter what, he was going to play his drums, and he was going into sound engineering. So he did it, he's there. But again, I just want you guys to understand the passion of a mom. I took on the role, it's based out of New York, for Mothers of Black Boys United, to try to figure out what is it that I can do, and I'm 51, in my next years on this earth to change the outcome of our black children. And I think this facility is going to be part of that. And I ask you all to please think about that on behalf of mothers of black boys who are chasing them around on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't learned TikTok yet, but I think I got to figure that one out too as well. But if I know they're over there, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Any other proponents?
Figured I might as well just go after my mom. So my name is DeForest Cox, and the address is 2701 Tulip Lane, Bellevue, Nebraska. And she pretty much said everything, but I just want to say that Dana was also my drum teacher personally. And he doesn't know this, but I remember our very, very first encounter. I was actually in 7th grade, and at that time, like, nobody was better than me at drums in Omaha. And I won like every single solo for the jazz competitions. And then we had a clinic with Dana, and he came in, he was like, "You're playing completely unbalanced, like, you know, you need to get better," pretty much. And I'm like, "Who's this dude?" Like, yeah. And then 9th grade year, or no, I'm sorry, not 9th grade, 11th grade year, he was teaching at Bellevue East, and I was trying out for the drum line there. And that was the first time that I actually ever encountered a challenge that I felt like I couldn't overcome, because the level of playing that was happening around me was not something that I could just come in and do. And I remember trying out for the snare line. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, nobody gonna tell me I can't, because I'm the best. And right there on the little drum pad, he just played me some patterns and asked me to do it. And to my defense, I never practiced. I got it out, but it was very poor, you know. Anyways, I just want to zero in on this memory. I remember marching that year. I ended up making the line. And I remember a specific point where I wasn't putting in the time at home. I wasn't practicing, and I was just always used to winning. And I wanted to quit. And I got frustrated, and I voiced my opinion strongly to Dana, and he told me to suck it up and do it again. And over the course of the next 2 or 3 days, I learned how to march, and I learned how to drill. And actually, even though my friend David, they had the best drum line, our marching band actually won our senior year. So I guess that's 2 kudos to Dana. Following that time, though, shortly after high school, I encountered a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things that I didn't understand about the world, and there was a lot of times where I felt like I wanted to cry. Just growing up, I'll just say this, like, out of the 6 black friends, brothers and cousins that I know, 4 of them ended up in jail, and one died. So it's just me. And anyways, Dana really impacted my life in a major way, because when I came up against challenges that made me want to take that same path, I knew that I was able to overcome it with the power of hard work and commitment. So I think that everybody that's on that street and in that community deserves that opportunity. So.
Thank you. Any other proponents wishing to speak?
Good afternoon. Dwayne Hawkins, 6978 North 88th Avenue. And I am a proponent. What's going on and what's on the agenda today, you heard from my youngest son, David, a few minutes ago. I have seen firsthand the impact that exposure to music and the arts can have upon children. But also for a period of time, I was a principal of an alternative high school here in close proximity to 24th and Lake. And I can tell you firsthand the impact that something like NOMA could have had upon those students that I had the privilege to lead, and not having an extra outlet of music and arts. We were struggling just to barely have some impact in the area of sports, but nothing in the area of music and arts. It could have made immeasurable positive impact upon those students that I had the privilege of leading. Currently, I serve as a pastor and the president of the New Era Baptist State Convention of Nebraska. 27 Baptist churches, 26 of them in the Omaha community, and the majority of those are a 10-minute drive from 24th and Lake. Our corporate office is 2601 North 24th Street, so half a block down the street. And I can say beyond the shadow of a doubt, to have opportunity to lead such a great body, I don't know, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 citizens or so, I would imagine, to partner with an organization that emphasizes music and arts would be an incredible opportunity for our community. I feel strongly about the role of the local church in the Black community, and to also feel strongly about effective partnership. And so there's no doubt in my mind, seeing it firsthand in my own life with my own son, the potential impact that we could have, not only with just the local churches, but other entities in the community, the Omaha Star, Sister Sanders mentioned, and others in that community where I was born and raised, within walking distance of NOMA. So I'm a proud proponent of what's going on, and it ignites vision and hope, and that's why I'm a proponent. Thanks.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any other proponents? Okay, seeing none, are there any opponents? I hope not. Close the public hearing. Additional comments, questions from the board?
Just want to give a little editorial here, if I may. Dana, obviously you've impacted a lot of lives in your career in a very positive way. A lot of testimony here today, and probably more that we don't know today. What you've outlined here for your vision, I think, is very, very important to the city, but the community as a whole as well. I think it's very important that our youth have exposure to the arts. They need a holistic exposure to every facet of education, including the arts, and I think this will provide that for them. And I think it's a real testament to your vision and what you're trying to achieve for our youth today particularly. So I wish you nothing but the best and wish you nothing but success. I know it's a major undertaking for you, but listening to you upstairs and listening to the testimony here today, I don't doubt that you'll be able to accomplish what you got your mind set out to do. So I wish you nothing but the best.
Anybody else? I just wanted to say, Dana, I'm a little embarrassed. Until today, I didn't know who you were. I apologize. I can't wait. See what you can do. Eric.
Sure. Yeah, so we've talked a lot about North 24th Street in recent months, and there's a lot of exciting things happening, and you know, the city is excited and encouraged about this, you know, this endeavor. So with that being said, staff recommends approval.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, will you please record the vote?
Pate,
Yes.
Sotolongo, Rosacker,
Yes.
Moore, Morris, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
approved 6-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 25. This was on consent, taken off. Case C7-22-155. Applicant Daryl Lacey. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow warehousing and distribution limited in the CC district. Property is located within an ACI area of civic importance overlay district. Location 11548 West Dodge Road. Is the applicant here? I don't see Daryl here. The applicant's not here. Okay, are there any proponents that wish to speak? Seeing none, are there any opponents?
Good afternoon. Stephen Ranum from Croker Huck Law Firm, 2120 South 72nd Street. I'm with Tim Martin, who's the manager of Perkins Properties, and at 608 North 114th Street. Perkins Properties manages the Miracle Hill Shopping Center, which is east of this particular property, and just has a general concern about traffic in that area as a result of what appears to be a kind of a multi-level storage facility with people being able to access the property at all hours. There is a on the north side of the property where it slants that abuts paved area of the shopping center, and Perkins Properties has concern that as users are utilizing the property, they're going to go through the Miracle Hill Shopping Center, impact traffic there, maybe impact traffic with the First National Bank of Omaha building that's also in the area, and also impact the intersection traffic at 114th and West Dodge Frontage Road, as well as just on the frontage road generally. So I think the main concern of the neighboring property is traffic.
Any other opponents wishing to speak? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. When it comes to traffic, we have one of these, you know, across from my neighborhood that Daryl Lacey put up. And I guess it's full, but I made the comment one time that I didn't think anybody was using it. I never see any traffic there. If I do, it's rare. So I could be wrong, but I don't think traffic is going to be a large concern for you in that area. Any other comments before I go to Eric?
The other question I have is there access from that north side onto the Perkins Shopping Center? I'm trying to look here and I can't really tell.
No, there is not. There is a proposed water quality basin, so that'll be for stormwater detention, and then surrounding that would be grass, basically. There's a gap, you know, basically there's a circulation paved area that goes around the building, but there is grassed area between the property lines in that circulator. So
Do you know if they're planning to install a fence around the property?
I am not aware of any fencing that's proposed on that north side. And I'll just add, and if you do have additional questions, just follow up. But yeah, I would add to what Greg had mentioned about traffic. You know, we've had several storage facilities built around the metro area in the past several years, and by and large, they are pretty inactive. So, you know, we believe this is a good location for this type of facility. We do have Public Works here if there are any specific traffic concerns, but this is very low on the intensity as far as trips throughout the day and at different times of the day.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Eric, did you want to make your recommendation or?
Yeah, so we do have a recommendation for approval. There are just a few items that will need to be addressed, some few additional buffer yard trees and interior trees that will need to be provided and shown on the landscape plan and planted. And then there are a few revisions needed to the building elevations regarding the primary materials and bricks. I should point out this virtually the same proposal was approved by Planning Board back in 2019 for this site. Now the building wasn't constructed or activity hadn't commenced, so that use permit had lapsed after a 2-year time frame of inactivity. So the applicant has brought it back, but it's virtually the same from 2019. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow warehousing and distribution limited in the CC district, subject to the 7 conditions in the recommendation report.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow warehousing and distribution limited in the CC district, subject to the 7 conditions in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, will you record the vote?
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Moore? Morris?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Before I make a vote, just full disclosure, where Daryl Lyses was over in my neighborhood, I didn't like it. But this back in a commercial area is just the perfect spot for these types of things. Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Agenda item number 28, case C7-22-164, applicant Catherine Jensen. This was also on for approval. It was taken off. Request approval of a conditional use permit to allow a kennel in the DR district. Property is located within an ED Environmental Resource Overlay District. Location 6512, 6524 Garvin Street. Is the applicant here?
Hi.
You're the applicant?
I'm the applicant.
All right.
Katie Jensen, my husband Josh Leno, and an address is 6512 Garvin Street. We're here to answer any questions or address any concerns, so. Okay.
Okay. Any other proponents wishing to speak? Seeing none, are there any opponents?
Hi, my name is Rick Canny. My address is 619 North 189th Street in Elkhorn. I actually own the property directly south of the proposed kennel. There's 22 acres that I've developed, 14 acre plus lots in there. They're all going to be $1 million or more homes. And I guess I'm not opposing this or okaying it. I just found out a couple days ago, so I'd like to have 30 days to look this over. And I had a couple other neighbors call me with concerns, and so I guess I'm here just to maybe look at this. I'd like to have 30 days to see what they're trying to do. So.
Okay, Rick, do you want to go back up if you would, please? Sorry. Did Katie reach out to you for any information for you before this?
I heard nothing from anyone until, so I don't have any, there's no homes actually located on my property, so I don't know if there's a notice that went out, but okay. 2 of the neighbors of the property called me and asked me if I knew about what was going on, and I said no. And actually, I was out of town till this morning, and so I just got back.
Okay.
And so, yes.
All right, thank you. Eric, since Rick owned that property,
Yeah, we can
notify?
Yeah, we can check the notification
I mean,
list.
you got a letter, correct?
No.
You did not? Okay,
We'll grab that.
all right.
If I could just, Katie, if you could.
Hi.
Hi. So maybe just for the benefit of Rick, you operate a kennel currently to the west side of 66,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Could you just explain a little bit how that, we're not here for that facility, but does this operation, is it going to run similar, or just describe a little bit?
So currently we have a location just north. Help me with directions here, babe.
Just west.
Thank you. Of where we're proposing to put the new location. We're essentially just kind of splitting off what is already there, just to kind of spread them out a little bit, so we don't have so many at one place because we're growing. Right now we go through an extensive screening process with all of our dogs and all of our clients. We don't just take any and all dogs. All of our clients come for a trial day. They have to stay for the full day. Their dogs have to pass a bunch of requirements. They can't be excessive barkers. They can't be aggressive. They can't be naughty, for lack of a better word. They have to have some basic manners. They have to be well-behaved dogs. We require all of our clients to text us when they're on the way to the property, and then to pick up or drop off their dogs, so we can take the dogs inside the building so that they're never exposed to when people are coming and going. 90% of our clients are really good at doing that. We have 10% that forget to text and they'll just pull up driveway, but we have protocols in place so we can get the dogs corralled. So we try and keep that noise level down, which is pretty much everybody's biggest concern. Right now, I would say we've contacted everybody that had a home around us with letters previously, and then obviously you guys send out your letters too. So there aren't any actual built homes on Rick's property yet, or we would have sent letters to them too, but we didn't know where to send those letters. So.
Rick, it looks like yours went to a P.O. box probably in Carroll, Iowa.
That's my family's.
Yep.
Okay.
Katie, how many dogs are outside usually at one time?
All at one time, anywhere between, it just kind of matters, but it averages about 20 to 25. So it depends on how many got dropped off and then still how many are going to be picked up for the day. But at one time, we have specific hours that they're only out playing. They all take breaks every hour and a half. They take a 2-hour break. So they're only out for certain windows. And I think there's 3-4 windows that they're out for that hour and a half, 2 hours, but then we still go inside during those 2-hour breaks for AC breaks, or in the winter we go inside for heat breaks, so to play inside.
We got a letter of recommendation or support from the Humane Society as well. They do annual inspections, I think, out there, so your operation must be very, very good.
Yeah, we haven't had any complaints from any of the neighbors. We submitted some texts and emails we got from existing neighbors that are there in support of us. We feel like we've done a really good job the last 5 years of improving the area, updating all the landscaping, and then keeping a really good strict hold on how we do our policies. So we don't, we live there too, so we want to keep it, our kids are growing up there, we live there, we completely understand everybody's concerns, so.
Yeah, our family lives on site. The last thing we want is to be a nuisance to our neighbors whom we love. And we take a lot of pride in doing a good job and giving the dogs the attention that they want. That helps keep it to minimize any issues that might occur. So
It's just dogs. Is it just dogs?
Yes. Just dogs, yep. And for Rick too, we don't have inside outdoor runs. So they're never just out in their runs barking, hours on end or anything like that. They're always with staff, they're always supervised.
If they can't run outside on their own.
Correct.
Really go out when you let them out.
Yes, yep, so it's completely controlled by us. So if anybody is too worked up or too wound up or too excited about something, those ones get to go inside for a little bit longer of a break than the rest of the group, so.
Since Mike brought it up, the Nebraska Humane Society, speaking about your present operation, they said, since obtaining this permit, the Nebraska Humane Society has not received any complaints against the business. Furthermore, during the annual inspections, Katie's Kennel has been found in full compliance with all regulations. So,
Yeah.
wait, Rick.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
So evidently you run a nice facility.
we like to think so.
Okay.
Our clients like to think so. So we have a lot of happy clients. So.
All right. Any other questions for Katie? All right. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, thank you.
Rick, if you wanted to come up, we'll allow you to come up and ask a question or make a point.
Sure.
Name, yeah.
Rick Canny, 619 North 189th Street, Elkhorn, Nebraska. To be honest with you, I bought the property. I didn't even know there was a kennel over there. They did such a good job, okay?
All right.
So I was good with that. I guess my concern was, so she has 25, how big are you gonna get? How many other dogs? But honestly, I didn't even know it was there. So it's really good, but then I just was concerned that, I've got 4 lots that would directly face their property, and they're all $130,000 lots. And so those homes are gonna be right there. So that was my only concern, on that. So, yeah, as long as, I think I've sounds okay to me, I guess, at this point. But can I ask how many you're planning on, if you have 25 now?
Same thing, they're just gonna be bigger sized.
Bigger sized dogs?
Yeah, so the smaller dogs are gonna be at the current facility.
Okay.
We'll keep it smaller, the bigger sizes will go to the new spot. So basically the same operation, just splitting it up in.
Just separating our
Katie?
dogs.
Gotcha.
Katie?
Yes.
Did you want to come up and share that information?
sorry.
So we
Sorry.
can give your,
We'll share, Rick. We're
Yeah.
so we're just planning on taking our existing dogs that we have now and just splitting them up. So we'd like to just keep the smalls that are current and then take the bigs down to the new place because there's a more indoor space, so we can spend more time indoors and then we also plan to plant a lot of trees around the whole property, make sure there's lots of sound barrier, 6-foot fencing, make sure you have no idea that we're there.
Cool.
Just like their current location.
Yeah.
So the only thing we have right now at our existing location is just a little sign right up our driveway by the garage. So nothing from the street. You can't, and the fence sits 50 feet back. So he's right. A lot of people have no idea we're even there. So
thank you all.
thank you.
I think did I close the public hearing? Close the public hearing. Yeah. Any additional comments, questions from the board? Eric?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear cut just based on the applicant's description of how it'll work and the items in the recommendation report. There will have to be a waiver to allow parking in the front yard, which is supportive. So that is another step that the applicant would have to go through. The city recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow kennel in the DR district, subject to the 6 conditions in the report.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval of the conditional use permit to allow a kennel in DR district, subject to the 6 conditions outlined in the recommendation report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Solongo?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
We have some people in the seats. Were you here for just to watch, or was there a specific case?
They're just my fans.
Oh, okay. Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know Jorge brought his own fans with him to the. All right. Do we have a motion for May's pre-meeting minutes and public meeting minutes?
Motion to approve May's pre-meeting and public meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Moore?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Solongo?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. Debbie, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Pate?
Yes.
Solongo? Rosacker?
Yes.
Moore? Mr. Chair?
Yes. Yes.